Welcome everybody to Sin City Living. My name is Jason and I'll be bringing you today's episode. As always, please hit those like and subscribe buttons. We have a ton of content for you guys coming out every single week, every single day generally. Occasionally miss a day like I did during the rodeo that is still ongoing right now. And I hope all of our patrons out there are appreciating the patron-only exclusive videos we're putting out with the dice class, putting one out every couple of weeks. And if you're curious about that, go ahead and check the description down below. Once I get this whole live stream thing figured out, I'm probably going to do a live stream on the patron site as well. One on the regular site, one on the patron site. I do have the new computer for it. Theoretically, I have everything ready. I'm just so busy currently with this rodeo. And one of our fans asked a question a little while back about ways to tip us, to show appreciation to us without having to sign up as one of our patrons. And at the time we did not have any way of doing it, but I have managed now to get us signed up with a site called Buy Me a Coffee. As I'm sure some of you guys have noticed from some of our videos, Louie and I are both pretty heavy coffee drinkers. So if you're curious about that as well, go ahead and check down below in the description as well. We would definitely appreciate any cups of coffee you're willing to pick up for us. And don't forget to email us with any strategies, questions, suggestions, anything at all. We love shooting those videos for you guys. I actually haven't gotten a new email in about 2 weeks. And also, don't forget, anybody that may be interested in one of the small Sin City Living neons that we have, just email us that as well, sincitylivingLV@gmail.com. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and get into today's episode. And today's video is not a strategy. Today's video is more of a discussion on the things to look for when you go up to a craps table to decide whether or not you want to play there. How to look at a table and identify if it's a good or bad table for you to play at. Everything's going to be different. And again, these are just suggestions. These are kind of broad strokes things to look at. None of these are be-all, end-all. It's just suggestions of things to look for. So the first thing that I suggest is when you go up to a table, sit and watch for a second and look at the payouts. Look at the payouts, and in particular, what you are looking at is you're looking at the center action and you're looking at the field. Okay? If the field pays double, that right there is a casino trying to eke out a slightly larger house edge. This by itself is not a, oh my God, they're trying to cheat me kind of thing, because it's gotten very common where the 12 pays double. So it's not a holy cow. Now, if you see that the 12 pays triple, then you can feel pretty confident that the payouts on the standard bets are all standard. They're all pretty good. They're not trying to eke out any extra little percentage points in the house edge. Now, if the field pays double on the 12, look to the center. Now, what you are looking for, and you have to pay attention to the verbiage, because for instance, this layout may look bad, but it's actually not. Most layouts are going to say 31-4-1 on the 12 and the 2, or and also on any hoppers. Basically, anything that is a single roll bet that is a pair, that only has one possible way of coming out of the 36, should say 31-4-1, which pays 32-1. So this says 32-1. So this pays out at the standard normal rate, normal way for horn bets, three-way craps, any kind of hoppers. As usual, if you are primarily playing hot bets, go play roulette. The odds are the same, but the payouts are better. But if you're just occasionally playing them just to add more fun to your game or part of your strategy or a little bit of a mix thrown in there, then look at the payouts. If it's 15-4-1 and 30-4-1 or 14-2-1 and 29-2-1, I wouldn't recommend playing there. They're definitely eking out they're squeezing that rock for as much water as they can get out of it. It's kind of like if I see a 6-5 blackjack table, I'm not playing there. That's just too much of a house edge that they're trying to build in. They're just trying to make it even tougher for the players to win. Of course, there's a house edge. Of course, it's hard for the players, or not hard, but of course, the odds are against the player, because otherwise the casinos wouldn't exist. But people win every single day. It happens. You just got to catch the right roll. You got to catch the right deck or shoe. But I don't want my odds to be diminished even more because the casino is cutting down the payouts even more and more. So that's the first thing that I look at is the field and the 12, and then I look at the center action, the hot bets, the single roll bets. The second thing that I'm going to look for when I come up to a table is I'm going to look for side bets. I'm going to look for the side bets that are up top. This layout doesn't have any, but there's so many different ones. You've got the fire bets, you've got the all tall, all small, make 'em all, you've got repeater bets, you've got replay bets, and take a look at what the side bet is on the table, and that's not going to be a decision on whether or not it's a good or a bad table, but it is something for you to think about depending on how you like to play. If you like a fast game, that is, that the dice are moving at a decent clip, not the stick doesn't need to look like a windshield wiper going back and forth, but if you like a game that is playing at a decent clip, at a decent pace, the all tall, all small, make 'em all, the fire bet are not bad. The all tall, all small, make 'em all is probably the best one for that. It probably pays out about the best of the various ones, although the repeater bet can pay out pretty well or pretty frequently. But the all tall, all small, make 'em all, at least on the small and tall, come up every so often enough that it's fun to play because they actually have a legit shot of hitting one of them. But to pay them out doesn't take a huge amount of time. It doesn't stop the game for more than a minute or so, minute to a minute and a half. And people are getting paid a decent little bit, so that's not an unreasonable amount. It's no different than one of the hard ways hitting at a pretty heavy amount as far as the payout goes. If you don't mind a slow game, then all the side bets are perfectly fine. But if you like a quicker game, the all tall, all small, make 'em all is the best. After that would be the fire bet. The problem with the fire bet is on that incredibly rare chance that you end up hitting all six. Most of the time, most casinos, that brings the game not to a crawl, it brings it to a dead stop for anywhere between 10 to 20 minutes. Because when there is a 6-puck fire bet payout going on, the casino stops the game, freezes the game, calls security, and security actually rolls back through all 6 points. They will roll back through every single roll. Now, if you've got a 6-puck fire bet, that means this is probably a 20-minute roll or more. So the security has to roll back through every single roll that occurred from the very beginning all the way through because they need to make sure that no 7 came at any point. So if you like a quick game, the fire bet doesn't slow the game down too much unless you get to a 6-puck payout. Then it's going to stop the game entirely. Now, the worst one for a quick game, the repeater. The repeater bet is one where players can put money on every number from 2 all the way up to 12, and it pays. If the 2 hits twice, it pays. If the 3 hits 3 times, it pays 2 or 12, 3 and 11, so on and so forth, all the way up to the 6 and 8, where if they hit, I believe it's 6 times, they pay. Now, the problem with the repeater bet is that as long as a number hasn't rolled yet, people can bet it. So you start your game, and a 6 rolls, we mark the 6. Now, nobody can bet on the 6. I mean, people already bet the repeaters. Maybe they bet $10 across, they bet them all, $1 on each. But now the 6 rolls. Now people say, you know what, I want to add an extra $1 on the rest of the numbers. So they throw those in. So we got to set that up nice and careful. It's real tough to set that up when a lot of people are playing it. Now let's say a 9 rolls. So 9 rolls, players get paid 7 or 14 or 21, whatever they get paid. A lot of players that play the repeater bet then throw their 1s in to put it on other numbers. Now they can't do the 6 or 9 now. So now they say, I got $4. Let me put an extra $1 on the 12, the 5, the 8, and the 10. So we got to stack that up. And this happens every single roll. These games, repeater bet games, operate at an absolute crawl, and they are what we call a stroke fest. They're stroking the box and stroking the dealers, and they're absolutely insane. This is the #1 most hated side bet amongst dealers and boxes for that reason alone, because it is a stroker's paradise. That will have an insanely slow game. The replay bet is very, very similar to the fire bet, only it's instead of multiple numbers, it's the same number hitting and being set and winning multiple times. That doesn't slow the game down too much. So the side bets, look at the side bets, and that you can use that to decide whether or not you want to play on that particular table. The next thing that I would look at is the players. So before I play on a table, I usually walk up and I usually watch 2 or 3 rolls. What am I looking for? One, I'm looking for players that are late betting. If they're people are throwing late bets, constant late bets, that disrupts the flow of the game. It also disrupts the shooter. It's extremely rude to the shooter, extremely rude to every other player. When I'm shooting, I don't want to have to deal with someone that has their arm in the way. Although, to be honest, when I'm shooting and someone puts their arm in the way, I throw the dice even faster and I aim for them. Because it doesn't matter to me if I hit them or not. I know it doesn't affect the randomness of the dice, but I know it's going to tick off every other player and they're going to give that person an earful. So I always aim for them if someone has their arm in the way. So I look for late bets. The other thing I look for are extremely drunk, sloppy players. I'm looking for extremely drunk, sloppy, not sloppy, well, sloppy, yes, but sloppy, drunk, aggressive players. I'm looking for those players that are cussing out other players or yelling at other players, just because when I'm playing, I just don't need that around me. I'm not saying it's good or bad or it's going to affect the rolls or anything like that. I personally just don't need that around me. I don't need to worry about whether or not 2 guys are going to end up in a fight over on the other side of the table or right next to me. I don't need to worry if security is going to be called or that we have to stop the game because the box has to have a discussion with this drunk guy that's just being a drunk a-hole. So I look for anybody that is borderline out of control or too aggressive because I don't need that. There's other places to play. I don't need to be around that. Now that's, again, just my personal opinion, but I prefer to not be around those kind of players and playing on those kind of tables. If that table is thriving with those kind of players, it's a good bet that a lot of the players on the table are fairly aggressive and fairly belligerent, and so they all get along with each other until they don't. But then for the average player, then the average player is the one that has to deal with it. I honestly don't care if there's new players or players that don't understand the game and are learning the game as they play. That's fine. Everyone has to learn it somewhere. That won't bother me. That won't affect my decision making at all. The last thing I'm going to look at is the dealers. Now, the dealers are, of course, important, but all these other factors that I've mentioned are more important to me as far as whether or not I want to play at the table. The final deciding factor are the dealers. I'm going to look up at the dealers. Are the dealers pricks? That's the best way I could put it. Are the dealers a-holes? Are the dealers being mouthy, aggressive, or flat out rude to the players? Unwarranted. I will say unwarranted because some players, they do warrant it. Good dealers can still brush it off or are able to be a little bit slyer with their comments. But if players are cussing at or being rude or belligerent to the dealers, definitely expect the dealers to set them straight. But for the average player, is the dealer doing the job? Are they interacting with the players? Are they talking to the players? Are they helping them? Hey, your comeback came down. Would you like to place it? Or hey, your hard way came down. Or hey, don't forget your odds, or stuff like that. If the player is always pressing, is the dealer saying, hey, you want to press this? If the person happens to be turned around getting their drink or something like that. Are the dealers friendly? Are they engaging? Or are the dealers rude, burnt out, or just staring off into the ether and looking as uninterested as possible and stacking up their payments and just throwing it to the players? That's the fourth thing I look at, the final thing. So there's 4 things I look at. When I go up to a table, I don't immediately buy in and start playing. I buy in, I start watching. I start watching for a little while and then decide whether or not I want to play there or if I want to go to another table. So I hope you guys find this interesting or enlightening. Please hit the like and subscribe buttons, and we will catch you guys next time. Bye now. So, as I promised, I wanted to go over very briefly our upcoming attempts at a third test live stream. So what's happened so far? The first test live stream just flat didn't work. The problem that I had was was an equipment problem. I had an equipment problem in that the equipment that I was using to translate the camera into streamable video to the computer required a better USB port than the computer I was using at the time. So that one just flat failed because it would not translate into the computer. The computer would not pick it up, would not read it, so I wasn't able to live stream it. So then, as I was looking through, because I'm a little bit of a tech head, as I was looking through all of my other stuff, because I do have 4 laptops here and 3 computers, I did find one that actually did have the newer style USB port. Unfortunately, it was actually my oldest laptop, but I figured, what the heck, let me give it a shot. What's the worst that can happen? And this time around, when I fired everything up, the video was actually translating onto the computer, so things were looking better. But then when I attempted to live stream, the computer was not powerful enough to be able to translate it and then upload it sufficiently. So it basically just uploaded a blank screen for the live stream. So what I am going to have to do is, and I'm already looking into all of my options, I'm going to upgrade my computer so I can add, what, a 7th, 8th computer to my household. And I'm going to go much, much higher, and I'm going to get a computer that is far more than I need for this, far, far, far more powerful than I need for this. That way any future upgrades that I may do, the computer will be able to handle it. So unfortunately this computer is going to cost me about 25% more, about 25% of what I've already laid out in all the equipment for this channel. So it wasn't something I could just instantly buy. I'm probably looking at Black Friday or Cyber Monday. So hopefully I have it within the next couple of weeks, and then I'll do another test live stream and see if I can go from there. So I will definitely do at least one weekly live stream on our Patreon because they're the ones that are really helping us get this computer. And the other equipment that I'm going to get, because I figure if I'm buying the computer, I might as well buy the most high-end capture cards and things along those lines, get everything as good as possible, and then hopefully eventually get a better microphone for you guys. So yeah, that's where we stand on the live stream. As soon as I have the computer and I do the test, which will be in a few weeks, like I said, got to order it in a week or two, then I have to wait for it to ship. Plus we have probably the biggest event of the year coming up, the NFR National Finals Rodeo. So I'm basically working 2 weeks straight, as is my wife. So not going to have a whole lot of time. But once we get all that under control, then we'll figure out. There's been some schedule changes to myself, some schedule changes to my wife, and some upcoming schedule changes to my wife as well. So hopefully we can get all the scheduling figured out so I know when I'll be able to live stream as well. My initial plan of Thursdays at 6 o'clock is already out the window. I'm at work at that point now. So we will get it all figured out, and we will let you guys know, I promise. And otherwise, I hope you guys have found this interesting, enlightening, illuminating, or at least just plain fun. And we will catch you guys next time. Bye now.